It's working now? Okay. All right, guys, let's get settled. Let's get some programming going. There's a few questions queued. One thing I want to do, the first thing I want to do is I want to show an example of another approach to handling types that are different, but you want to interact with the two using conversion traits, okay? And that's probably the last piece of that puzzle, and I think answers some of the questions, and it was the thing I said I would do at the last coding. And then there's some other questions queued that you'll have to ask me when I'm done with that, okay? But what I'm going to do here is, again, try to work with two types, which I know they can interact with each other, but Rust doesn't know that. So I should define some kind of interface for them to interact with each other, right? And that can all be doable with, again, traits. So let me get rid of this out.rs. Let me work inside of, not Dex, maybe Treasury, multi-Treasury, okay? So Treasury also has a native balance and a fungible balance, right? But I didn't do the tricks I did in the other one to make the types the same, right? What's another way we could actually work with these types together, right? Let me see. I should have, I think in DPOS, I have an example, a slight example of this. The general idea is this. The general idea is, in a situation where, and so in this example, there are two IDs. There's an authority ID and there's an account ID. Now, in the runtime, these are the same. They are the same. But the way that these palettes are developed, these other ones, we don't know that. So what we can do is we can introduce a type, authority to account, which has the trait convert from authority ID to account ID. And therefore, we can call this function to convert authority ID to account ID. And then this logic is defined in the runtime where all the types are concrete, right? So you can think about this, like if I have a balance A and a balance B type, I want to add them together, but I can't know that. But the runtime, which actually knows these types, could show me how to add them together, right? So you could make a function which allows me to do conversions or manipulations outside. So let's see how you use this. So we have authority to account. We have convert from authority ID to account ID. If we look at how this is being used, authority to account, you can see here that we in order to get who the author of the block is, we query the aura for the author, but the author it gives us is this authority ID type. And we don't know how to convert this to account ID, so we delegate to this function we created to then convert it for us. And then the runtime is actually going to do this conversion for us. So let's see what that looks like. Inside of the runtime, there should be authority to account. And here in the runtime where everything is concrete, we can directly define a struct, and we can implement the conversion function, and we can just say decode it. Does that make sense? Again, only the runtime knows that this thing can happen. I'm going to do a more explicit example with the balances, but I just want to show you what's happening here, the pieces, okay? That you're able to define in the runtime where all the types are concrete actions that you want to access inside your palette where it isn't concrete. And if you want to use my palette, you must implement this function. Does that make sense? Okay? So let's do this with the balances type, okay? So I already showed you in the... Is there a question? Yeah, a question we should ask it. Okay, yeah. So, then I already showed you in the Dex how you can do making the types concrete to make everything kind of solid. A better solution for solving that problem is this process. So give me 1 second. I think one funny thing is it's about equality. I think this trait allows me to convert one direction. There is another one that allows me to convert both directions. Let me look at this. Let me look at this trait. Let's go to Firefox. Let's go to the Rust docs. Trait convert. So yeah, so there's a trait convert. it makes a conversion from A to B. What are the other, there should be another one. So let's see, convert. Contains pair, transform, convert into, convert back. Oh, here we go, convert back. Here we go. So there's a trait called convert back, which inherits from convert and gives you back B to A. So if you implement convert, you can take A and go to B. If you implement convert back, you also must implement convert, so you can go A to B and B to A, right? So in the context where I want exactly the asset type, the asset balance, and the native balance to be the same, I'm going to implement convert back onto these types, okay? So let's do that together. Okay, convert back. Okay. So let's copy this real quick. I'm going to go to Treasury. I'm going to go and I'm going to create balance converter. That sounds fine, right? Convert back from balance of self and asset balance of self. We're on the right track, right? This is a helper that can convert balance to assets and back. We're already on the right track, right? If this function existed for you, you could solve all the problems related to handling these two types, right? Generally agree, right? Okay, so we're going to put this in. Let's make sure that compiles so far. But another thing I do often is whenever I'm going to introduce something like this, I would definitely just, I'm not going to write a ton of lines of code and then wait. I'm going to make sure this should compile without anything. It's going to tell me probably I'm missing an import, right? Yeah, so I'm missing the import. I want to do that. I do not want to queue a bunch of errors at the end. Traits convert back. Okay, what else? Not all trait items. Oh, so then the tests, I need to have it. So type balance converter. So yeah, here. Okay, so what I'll do here. So this will be struct balance converter, right? Impl convert. How do you let's look at this. Convert AB. So convert balance. Sorry, let my brain think about what am I going to write here. I want to convert from A to B. But balance. It has to be like this, right? Impl for balance converter. I know, we'll figure it out as we go. And that's fn convert. And the function I need to implement is convert A, return B. So convert A, just type balance, return balance, and I'll just return A, right? And then impl convert back balance, or I'm not 100% sure this is right, but we'll figure it out, okay? Fn convert back B balance, return A balance, return B. So in this context, we know that they're exactly the same, so we just directly convert them. Will this work? Let's see. And probably have to import some things here too. Yeah, I need to import this and convert. Convert and convert back. Can't leak a private type, of course. Just make this pub struct. pub struct. It kind of feels like it's working. Whoa, okay, it worked. I mean, the code looks kind of weird, right? But it's exactly doing what we need, right? It converts between the two, right? And then inside of my runtime, there was a function we did in Dex, right? In Dex, we did check equal. So let's copy this and let's do the same thing, but using our new tool here, the better tool. Better's objective, right? So palette call index, this is 3. Check equal, balance of, asset balance of. What we can do is let asset converted equals T balance converter convert asset, right? And this will be of type balance of T. Just write it explicitly so I just don't get confused. And then I should be able to compare that these two are equal. Of course, I need to import this trait. Thank you. Rust for nothing. What? Expected. Maybe it's the other way. Maybe I'm supposed to convert back, right? Convert. I think this. I'm just guessing this error. I'm not really reading it. Is that telling me that, oh, I expect this type. It should be this type. So I'm just going to do the other direction. Oh, perfect. It worked. Right? So this is a much. You can imagine, like, I have at this point made far fewer restrictions into my environment, right? As long as I'm able to implement this convert back function out there, it will work. Now, practically speaking, something that can be converted to A and A converted to B, it probably is the same type. But imagine I only require convert one direction. Imagine this. Instead of doing convert back here, I only require convert from, okay, in this case, I want to convert from asset to balance, right? So this is less restrictive, right? Ah, shit. Okay, it's gonna be all this stuff I have to change real quick. Let's just do that real quick. So now I do convert. Okay. This should work still. So in this case, I'm only converting one direction, right? But I'm not saying that I can convert the other direction. And this supports all runtimes where asset is at least a type smaller than balances. So this setup, so in our setup in Dex, we had to have exactly the same. With convert back, they also have to pretty much be exactly the same. With this setup, balance of can be U128, and asset balance of could be U128, U64, U32, U8. It could be any of the things because all of those types could convert to U128, right? That makes sense?
Wait, so you're saying convert is like greater than convert back?
Convert back is, no, it's all about the requirements you're asking. Convert has less requirements on the types because I'm not saying that you can go both directions. It's not better or worse, it's just, this is less assumptive, right? And this being less assumptive means that you're more flexible in terms of what you can do here, right? So, let's go back to this, convert back. Okay, so let's put this should compile now. Let's watch this. If I do convert back here, but then I go to the tests and I change assets, I change this to U32, right? I can't then actually implement these functions, right? But I could make that U32. I could remove this convert back. I could do balance U32 to balance U32 dot into, right? Because it will convert to balance. This is U128. That's basically what's happening, right? And then I can do, and that's it. I think the whole point is that this works. So I don't do convert back. I do convert. It works.
Can you just just going back a little bit, can you speak of the use case or the difference here for using like the um, what you aliased as assets, so balance of and asset balance of. So if I understand correctly, then asset balance of is basically saying um, like it's from the fungibles. So there's a context of like which balance for a given asset ID, right?
I didn't understand your question, but I can re-explain this.
Yes,
Right.
basically.
So there's two approaches to handling these types. Again, in the context of the palette, we do not know these types are the same. They do not have to be the same. The runtime might have more knowledge than us, right? But we need to, in our palette, be able to handle these different types. In this context, in the DEX palette, what I did was I set the asset balance type equal to the native balance type. I am requiring these two must be exactly the same. And if they are exactly the same, then I can just, in the whole palette, treat them as exactly the same. They are now equivalent types, right? That is one approach. It's very restrictive though, right? I cannot change one type without changing the other. I have just shown you now another method where you can use a converter trait, again, associate type that has a converter in it, that the runtime can actually convert for you these two types. And in this context, we have been able to support now a runtime where the asset uses U32 and the balance uses U128. So we weren't able to do this with the DEX constriction, but we were able to do this by lowering the requirements and using these fancy traits.
Okay,
And this is cool.
That is cool. It's not what I meant. I meant like just to re-explain again, like why do we have this like native balance and fungibles basically? Like, so it's not about the comparisons right now. It's about like what is actually the use case for the two types. Like, so is
So
it because like
why does balance of exist and why does asset balance of exist?
yeah.
So balance of exists because there's a palette called palette balances, which manages the balance, and that balance has a type, and that is that type. Asset balance of exists because there's a different palette called the assets palette, which manages a different balance, and its type is asset balance of type. These two palettes do not need to have the same type for balance.
But like the purpose, so why do what's the purpose of palette balance and palette asset balance? Like asset balance is basically with
So palette
there's
balance
a mapping
is
between asset ID to balance, right?
palette balance only manages one balance, and it's the native currency.
Yeah.
And it's optimized for one balance. It's optimized, like super optimized for being the native currency of your blockchain. Like DOT, like Bitcoin, like ETH, like you would use, for your chain that you spawn, you would use the balances palette. The assets palette is like an ERC20 token, like an ERC20 like factory. It can generate many tokens. They're not all as efficient, but you can manage many at the same time. So they're like completely like it's just the idea of having the assets palette is like, do you want multiple tokens? Like, you want to have it? Yeah, it just.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, yeah, I do.
So that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
Okay,
it's
great.
just like because like the other day you said like for now just do fungibles for everything. So basically like manage all your stuff in the fungibles. But like in the context of the DEX, for example, then there would be the native token, which is like the liquidity token.
What I'm saying to you is you should. So the hint I had given for the DEX was get the DEX working with just fungibles. Forget about the native token. Like that's gonna add it. Like everything I'm doing here is extra complexity just to make this one extra token come in. That is not as important to me. If you get your DEX working with just fungibles, they're all in the same world, then try adding native, and you can use these tricks, right? It's like I mean, this is clearly not trivial what I'm doing here, right? So why are you, why would you, like what I hate is I would hate that someone gets stuck building this project because they just can't get past this one step, right? Work with just fungibles and then add the native asset when you can. Okay. So all right, that's good. Let me clean this up a little bit and then save it. So I don't want to in the mock change this type. So I'm going to keep this to balance. I'm going to keep this to balance. I'm going to keep this conversion both directions. I'm going to keep this as balance, 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 and then I'm going to put in here convert back.
Can you make it with different, like, so like have the asset palette has a different balance type and see like
I just did that though, right? I did U32.
I know you did it like with concrete types, like with the generic types. It will be asset palette colon balance and then balance is balance. You get what I mean?
I'm sorry, I'm.
So if you
know?
get the code,
Can you maybe let him ask the question again? Because I really actually didn't understand.
I think what he means is like instead of doing like U32 to U128, do balance to asset balance, and the idea would be how do you limit asset balance to be convertible to balance?
Is that right? No, wait, that's the thing, that I can't create this convert function from balance to asset balance because it's concrete type. Like this is U128 to U128. Like this is what this function is doing. At this point in the runtime, all types are concrete. Like there is no such thing as asset balance of Tahir. It's just U128.
so if you go up in the mux, like for in the palette, so we do set the balance. Yeah, but if you go to the asset, for example, yes, we set here we set the balance to balance. So we can set this to something else, right?
Okay, U128 or U32.
No, yeah, U32 and
I did
the
that,
other
though.
one. Yeah, I saw like. Yeah, I saw it. I saw you doing it with U32 and U128.
U128, yeah.
I would like to see the syntax if I'm going to use like this specific balance without worrying about what was it exactly.
No. So you're getting confused here. I'm working in the right now in where the runtime is concrete.
Okay.
I'm not working with generic types. I cannot implement a function with generic types. I can't implement convert on types I don't know.
Yeah.
In this runtime, here I'm saying this is give me some function converting between these two. But I can only implement that function if I have the concrete types. There's no way to write this function, right?
I was confused. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to keep this U128. What did I do? Oh yeah, because I put U32. Balance, U balance. Okay, and then cargo format. Then that should be okay. Okay, what's the next question?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
About the multi-sig I was talking with you earlier.
Yeah. So let's make a simple example of dispatching a call from a multi-sig and what kind of things we can do with that, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so basics. So in the multi-sig palette, I already gave you this redispatch function. This is kind of in the vibe of what you need to do, but let's take it one step, a little bit more clear, right? I also have here generating an account, right? Okay, so let's imagine this. Can we imagine that every multi-sig only has one user in it, right? So if the user wants something to happen, it happens, okay? That's our imagination. Obviously not very helpful, but we can imagine it, right? Let's make a function which does that, right? So, okay, you go.
Can we imagine that it's always, for example, 3? Because I think the 1 is like a bit.
But I have to write so much code.
No, let's imagine that it's there, like that we have. Okay, because I was just a bit, because when you mentioned that from the origin we can get the multi-sig account, this part confused me, and
Okay. I have an idea. Who knows about Beetlejuice? When you say his name 3 times, he appears, right? Okay, let's do that. Beetlejuice. I don't know if it's an American thing, but that's okay. Anyway. So let's just go for. Let's start with this and let's see where we can go. Okay. So I'm gonna have a function. If any 3 users call this function, it will dispatch a multi-sig call.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm not gonna store it in I'm gonna store in storage some very basic stuff, but again, imagine like there's a multi-sig that any 3 users can trigger this multi-sig. Okay. So, which is going to be origin for T. So a caller calls, they're gonna call with a hash, right? A call,
Yeah.
Which is gonna be a box of T runtime call, right? And that's it. And then there's gonna be one multi-sig account, okay? So let sender equal ensure. And by the way, this is gonna be very not secure, right? But we're just gonna do something to make an example. So ensure sign, origin. We're gonna have storage, palette, storage, which is gonna be a type call counter T config, which is going to be a storage map for a Blake 256. Nope, that's not wrong. Blake 128 concat with a T hash into a U8. So this is the counter, okay? Right? So like, imagine this. Every time I submit a call, I'm gonna get the hash. I'm going to increment the counter here of the hash by 1. And when I hit 3, I'm gonna dispatch the call. Does that make sense? Okay. If you have a comment, grab the mic and I'm happy to talk while programming, but my eyes will be down.
Doesn't work because you can approve twice.
Huh?
You can approve twice.
Yeah, I mean, this is not, I mean, I'm not building a real multi-sig.
Yeah.
I'm building you something that shows you mechanics, and then, great, you have to solve that problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you. You have a gold star for, you're right, this is not perfect for that. But, I'm just building something for fun, right? Okay, so we have this. So let's get call hash equals Blake 2, I can call T hashing hash of the call. Let me just make sure that this works. Okay. There's already, again, I don't want to write, I never want to write too much code before I just sanity check compile, right? So this index 4, that's correct. Okay. Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not. Okay, this is palette multisig. Does it work?
So in case of the multi-sig itself, we will always need to get the multi-sig account ID with the origin as well, and the call, right?
No, let's talk about that when we get to that part of the process. But there's a lot of things that we can do here. So no,
Okay.
Okay, so something happened here. Invalid palette call.
Yeah, you need the
dispatch
box.
result.
The box needs to T as config as well, right?
No, the box doesn't need that. Box only needs the type inside of it. Or maybe it does. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's ambiguous. Oh, T as config. Okay.
Yeah.
Like T as config. I'm not going to zip the latest things right now, and I do at the end. I'll end at the end of the thing. If you want, you can talk to Alex. Maybe he can make my repo public to you guys. Hashing hash. So I need storage hasher. Use frame support storage hasher? Is it not? Sorry, give me 1 second. Let me figure out what's good. I think I've had this problem before too. How do I call the hash function? Let me look at Polkadot SDK. So I'm gonna search for T hashing hash. Yeah, so it's here. T hashing hash. And how do we call hash? Oh, this is the out.rs. I want to get rid of this file. This is
In the multi-sig, they're doing it with call.using encoded, and then use Blake.
yeah, but it's better. I think it's better to use this. Oh, it's hash of. Okay. I think it's better to use the hash function defined by the runtime, and then the hash type defined by the runtime. It's just kind of generally better. See, and I might have to encode it though. Let's see what happens. So now I need to bring this sp runtimes hash. That's better. By the way, again, every answer to every question is inside of Substrate, right? So even I need something, I look it up inside of Substrate. Oh, I put ampersand. Great. Okay, so this seems to be working. So here's a basic function. It takes a call, takes a hash. I have a call hash, right? So then I will do so we already know one thing. I want this to start at 0. So this is going to be a value query, right? And so I'm going to do let counter equals call counter. Did I do it? Call counter t get of the call hash counter plus equals 1. You know, maybe. Counter plus equals 1 if counter, it needs to be mute, right? If counter is greater than 3, greater than 2, call it 1, 2, yeah, if it's greater than 2, then we can dispatch a call. Then we can pick the multisig. So let multisig account equal multi-account ID with seed 3. I'm just, like, you see here, I'm just, imagine that you have to store some multisig, whatever, but like I'm picking just one concretely here. Multisig account 3. And then I dispatch the call from the multisig account, right? From the multisig account here. And then what else do I do? Res, then I return this thing. Return. Otherwise, if this is skipped, then we need to save. Oh, okay, so if this is done, if it's past 3, so if counter equals 3, do this. Else, return an error, right? Already, so return error already called dot into. You have a comment? You can say it.
Yeah, it should be larger than or equal, not equals. Because if it's 1, then it will go to already called. The condition counter need to be like previously. If it's more than 2, do this.
No, but I want it that it won't go past 3. Okay, I mean whatever. Okay.
I mean, with this condition, it will fail as well, because like with counter 1, right? It will go to error. If you're doing it equal.
Okay. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, so if counter is less than 2, wait. No, counter is great. No, I was on the counter equals 3, it does this. If the counter.
Yeah, we need. Okay.
If counter less than 3, I just want to store the new one, right? So I do call counter t insert call hash counter, and I return OK. So that's one condition. Else, if counter is equal to 3, dispatch the call, do this. Else, already called. That it's kind of like it's you know, this is not beautiful code, but I'm just trying to make a scenario which makes sense. So it doesn't need these. This is my JavaScript programming. And into is not implemented for result.
Do we need an error? ARR between.
Oh yeah, error. We need this. Thank you. Error. Unreachable. Okay. Okay. So it knew that all possible conditions were returning. And not found in scope. Multi-account ID of self. So I'm calling a function inside myself. Why is this bad? The trait bound runtime origin from raw origin account ID is not satisfied. Is there something? Wait, this is an option. How did that happen? It should be account ID. Sorry, if that's in the code, that's definitely wrong. It should be directly account ID.
It's not.
It's not, right?
No.
Cannot import type T. Yeah, this needs a T. Almost there. Feeling good. Okay, now we're good. We're set here, okay? So here, and we're not really using the sender stuff. Okay, so this is the basics, right? So here, you can imagine 3 people, or the same person 3 times, calls this function with a call type. We keep track of the counter of how many times this call hash has been trying to be called. And on the 3rd time, we can actually just dispatch the call and go in. Oh, I need to probably insert anyway, right? I need to insert in here as well. I can just insert no matter what, right? I can just insert no matter what. Because I need to make sure that, you know, whatever. But I call it 3 times. It will finally dispatch, right? So this function will dispatch from the multi-sig account when these conditions have passed, right? And your condition will obviously be the account passed. Now, one of my ideas I was saying to people is there could be a function like multi-sig. I'm going to make a new storage item. Again, I'm trying to play around giving you guys direct answers, so this is like more ideas, but type favorite number, and this can only be set by the multisig. Storage value U32.
With the dispatch call, shouldn't you ignore the error? Because we shouldn't care if it's succeeded or failed, correct? Or just the multisig. You just send the call.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I have to think more carefully, but yeah, probably you don't care if it succeeds or fails. That's probably right. Yeah, I think if you look at the code from other palettes, let's look at that. Okay, I'll paste it for you. But in the DPOS, no, in DPOS, it's already implemented there. Yeah, DPOS, there's exactly authority to account convert here. So it's already in the code. And also, you have some Polkadot SDK. You can search the word convert. And there's probably going to be a million times where you can see exactly this thing, right? So, okay.
So a question here in the code. So like when you get the multi-sig, I just want to like clear out some assumptions.
Okay.
Each account can be in multiple multi-sig accounts,
Sure.
right?
Why is that a limitation? Why would that be a
no,
limitation?
that's
Yeah.
not a limitation, but I think like you are using multi-sig account and giving it a seed, right? And is this the way that, so basically with the when we have a multi-sig and we have multiple users in it, right? Like mapping from a user account to a multi-sig account is not like something that we can do right away, because you need to get the multi-sig account from outside to say, I am the multi-sig account and trying to do something, right? Am I missing something?
No, I just think I mean, I'm not coming from a bad place, so I apologize. I just think you're asking like a really bad question.
It's okay.
I don't know how like it seems like you're like it seems like I can't give you hints around the problem.
It's okay. It's
I'm
not.
Yeah.
I'm not trying. You gave me a hint and it confused me, and I'm trying now. So I had something in mind, and when you gave me a hint, it changed how I'm thinking, and that's why I'm trying to understand what did you mean by the hint. Okay. So currently, what I have is that I have a multi-sig account, right? And this multi-sig account have a vector or whatever accounts that are in it. Okay. And then what I expect from the users when they call me is that they say, I am calling for this multi-sig account, okay? And already I have the signer, so I know whether they are part of this multi-sig account or not, and whether I can add them to the proposal or not, whether they are already in the proposal or not, all this stuff, okay? And what happened is that when I was talking to you, you mentioned you don't need, again, what happened here when I mentioned, okay, do we need then to get a multi-sig account from the user in the dispatch code? You said no. This no is confusing me a little bit.
Okay. Then I'll be more explicit with my example then.
I can send also code if it.
No, let's just be more explicit in the example.
Yeah.
I'm making now a type, a storage multi-sigs.
Yeah.
Multi-sigs is a map now from an account ID to a vector of account IDs, right?
Yes.
You can imagine that what this means, right? That you can imagine that this maps from a multi-sig address
Yes.
to the users in that multi-sig, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and then this should
This will
be
be
storage
bounded and
storage
stored.
value.
Yeah.
So the empty vector is the beginning one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to create a new storage. So we haven't used favorite number yet, so we're just not going to use it. We're going to use multi-sig index, which is a U32. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it also has a storage value. Starts at 0. Okay? So now I'm going to create a function fn create multisig. Okay? Yeah, this should work perfectly. Okay, create multisig, which is origin for t. That's all I need. Okay, dispatch result.
Yeah.
And this will so ensure let who equals ensure signed origin. Let multisig index. Let index equals multisig index t get multisig index t insert index plus 1, right? We're just incrementing the index. Let multisig account equal account with the index, right? And then multisigs t insert multisig account who? Oh, wait. Let owners equals, I can just do this, vec. So yeah, I insert into this
Yeah.
a vec with one item, who. So you agree that this, let's see, does this compile? You agree that this is actually a very reasonable beginning starting step for this, right? Like we have like every time a user calls create, we will get a brand new index, create a brand new account, and put them as a single owner of that index, right?
Okay.
Okay, so let's figure out this compilation errors, and then we'll keep going from there. Let's see. Damn, I always forget this pub. Ensure signed. There's no macro. It's a function. Storage value. Value query. Okay. T. Where's T? Oh, here. Value query. No, storage value. Value query. Value query. Oh, we're so close. Account. What is that? T, account ID. Come on. Insert. Multisig index. Insert. Set. Because it's not a map. It's a value. Insert. Multisig account. Unsatisfied trait bounds. Option query. Vec. Value query. Insert. Why isn't it like that? I insert the key, I insert the value. Is it not value query key value? Anyone? Multi-sig account. So this returns
An account ID.
an account ID. So this is an account ID. That's an account ID. Insert. Vec who? Why is this bad? Insert exists for struct, but its trait bounds were not satisfied. Cannot be unsatisfied. Query can't get default. Oh, because there's no default account ID. Oh yeah, so that's the same. We had this problem before, right? I think I caught someone else with this thing. I can't do default here. Oh, on vec though. I thought with a vec you could do a default, because vec default is going to be nothing. Yeah, okay, maybe it's being weird. Okay, that's fine. I won't do a value query here. I'll do insert with the vec queue. Let's see. Storage arguments. Oh, the whole reason is I forgot the hasher. Lake 2128. I think that was just some weird error. I think that value query works fine, but I think that it was reading the fields like every field was off by one. That's a crazy error, by the way. That's really sucks. You see, like I forgot this field here, so it thought that account ID was the hasher. It thought that this was the thing, and like yeah, that's terrible. Sorry. Anyway, so my code was working. Okay. But I guess you kind of saw the way I navigate that, right? Like play with it and remove things that are optional. Okay, so this works. So we agree this function seems like pretty legitimate, right? For creating multisig, right?
Yep.
Now the question is, how do I add a new user? Let's do this. Pub function add user. That's fine. Add user. Origin for multisig is a T account ID, and then who
Yeah.
is the T.
Then this was exactly my question. That we need the multisig here, and you.
You don't, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would like to see how to do it without.
Okay, sure. Let who equals ensure signed origin.
I don't. No. Will not work. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Let multisig equals, or let me see, fine. New. This is who. All right. Let who is ensure side origin. Get, so let multisig multi-sig users, whatever, equals multi-sigs t get
Yeah. When you have a user
who
with, I will
dot okay or multi-sig is not there.
But that's not correct.
Why?
And that's how, because I asked, I told you that the assumption is that each user has multiple multisig accounts. And if you do this, you're assuming that it's only one multisig
That is
account.
absolutely not true. This function, who is who? Who in this context is the multisig? Who, like, I'm saying there's a function add user. When I'm the multisig, I'm God. I already have the permission of all the users. So maybe
Okay,
I can.
let's leave it at that, okay? Okay,
Yeah.
now I understand that this is the multisig. How are you going to get this multisig for the add user?
So all I'm saying is that I could make a function add user where I assume the multisig account can add a user. So let me finish my code here.
Okay.
I think it's not fair that you're interrupting my thought when I'm
Sorry,
trying
sorry,
to
sorry.
do this thing. So you multisig users, and then if then I check. So I get who, and this storage query is already verifying that, like, I don't have to do an extra verification here because if I only have a vector of accounts if I on my multisig thing. I'm already like asking my item. So I don't need anything more here. All I can do immediately is I can say, and this is checking if it's empty, right? So then I do, so this is mute. I don't do mute. Okay, I do let new users equals multisig users dot push new. Is that how you do the code? I don't know. And then I would do multisigs t insert multisig account. So I have to do this multisig account, and then new users, and then okay. Let's see if this compiles. Call index conflicting. Okay or not found on struct vec. So get, oh, because I put the value query. I do want actually an option query. I want it that if there is no multisig, right, the empty is, it means that it's not valid, right? So I do want actually option query. That's fine. That's good for me actually. Variant not there, so I need to add a new error type. Multisig is not there. Oh, so close. New users, I need to insert some new users, I think. Code like vec frame accounting not implemented for option. Oh, so it's wait insert no because I know because this is vec. Okay, I think it's this other thing. The push. Oh, the push is probably the option, right? No, but I need to unwrap. So I need to be able to push dot okay or like too many users. Does that work? This someone how do I do vectors in Rust?
I think make the new users equals multisig users, and then mutable, let mutable new users equals multisig users. Dot,
No, it's let mute multisig users.
Yeah, okay. We can do mutes here. We can do mute here. But I just like I in general I don't like using mutable variables. It's just like maybe that's just my own ick. It's fine. It's okay. Fine. Not found in the scope.
it needs to be
error T, thank you. Clone, wants me to clone it. Multisig account, so here, I can put, actually here, instead of cloning it, I can put the ampersand. I can put a reference to multisig account. Okay. Now, one last function, okay, and then this is the end of my my mini example here,
Yes.
which is
That's what I'm
call with multisig. Multisig account. And then a call, which is a box of T runtime, oh, T as config, T as config runtime call, right? And then I do this dispatch thing. So again, I'm going to skip some steps here in terms of the logic. Like you have to handle logic, but okay, we're imagining together. So imagine you have let caller equals ensure signed origin. Some logic here to check that the caller is part of the multisig, and that enough approvals have passed to submit the call, right? Something like that. And then the call is dispatched, and then okay. Of course. I mean, how else? It's a stateful multisig, right? So how else are you going to know people have been approving, right? The approval is attached to a call hash specific for a multisig,
Okay.
right? So for a multisig, there might be a bunch of queued calls. Each of these queued calls, there might be a bunch of there's approval information on them, and only when you hit the threshold on that call, you submit it, right? This is the basics of storing data.
So there should be another method for approve before
Yes.
the
Yeah, there
call
should-
with
I mean,
multisig.
I'm doing something basic. What I want to show here is that these three pieces is enough to do adding users, because you can create a multisig with one user in it. That one user has enough to do it. You then can call functions with the multisig. In the case of one user, it should just pass, right? And then dispatch. And then when you dispatch the call with the multisig account, you could use that to then call this function to then add an account. So if there were 5 users on the multisig and 3 out of 5 approved, they could call the add user function and add a 6th user. Because once they have access to the multisig account, they have it's enough rights for them to edit it. So
that was what I was saying from the beginning, that we will need the multisig account.
but I didn't have to pass it, right? Look.
Yeah, we passed it here.
Oh, in this one with called multisig?
Yes.
Yes.
That I thought what you were saying, that we can just get rid of this multisig account and derive it from whoever's calling.
What I meant was this. You do not
Yeah,
need multisig from this one.
Yeah, then we're on the same page. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Oh, I'm still confused with so
But
there.
I just want to clarify though. So I mean, I hear this problem. You don't need me to tell you that that's what you need. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
it can't be that you have to confirm with me, I need this variable or not. You're writing the code. You know what variables you need.
I understand, but when you mentioned it, I thought there is a way. I mean, I was interested in knowing how to do this. I mean, I cannot do it. I know that I thought how to do it. There is
Yeah.
maybe using extra memory in different ways, but I wanted to see
Okay.
how you're going to do it without using the multi-sig, and I was interested in seeing how this can be done.
Okay. And you have a question about the multisig?
Yeah, the question was this part that checks where are the approvals.
So this you want me like this logic here.
No, I don't want you to write the logic. I don't want you to understand if this logic of approving is in this method or in other methods.
Right. It's in other methods usually, and this is what you can learn from the other multisig. The other multisig in Polkadot SDK does go through this whole process of approval. So if you go Polkadot, no, not Polkadot, sorry. If you go to Substrate, you go to Frame, you go to multisig. Here, let's look at the storage inside this function. So I hope that if you're doing multisig, that you have spent time to actually try to understand what's going on here. But you can see here there's multisigs, right? These are the storage multisigs. There should be, wait. Oh yeah, look at this. So actually, this thing it has multiple layers here. It's not well documented, but there is an account ID, and here there's a hash of the outstanding operation, and then here is the multi-sig, which is the how many signatures it's collected so far, right? So some function here. So there's in this function, there's as multi is a call that you make, and it will add your approval to some call in the storage.
Okay, so that vector is the hash of the call, right?
That's this U832 is the hash of the call.
Okay, I got it. Now I got it.
But in the context of like you designing your palette, let's go here. Like somewhere you're gonna want something like this. You're gonna want a storage called type approvals, right? Which is gonna be some kind of map. I don't know how many layers, maybe double map, right? Storage double map. From, okay, we could copy this. So the first one will be which multisig am I looking for? Which call hash, right? Am I for that multisig? And then the vector of accounts that have approved, right? Now, obviously, you don't just put a vector. Like, there probably is like a whole metadata thing, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe you can have approvals and not approvals. Like, you can have like some kind of direct thing, but some kind of like if there's a map of multisig, which is the multisig to the owners, there's going to be a map of the approvals from the multisig to the hash to the approved people, and somehow you have to check that the threshold has passed or whatever the configuration is of that multisig is there, right? Okay. Okay, so all this compiles. Let me cargo format and let me save this. Okay. What's next? We have a comment here, yes.
In multisig palette, if I have to access the error of balances palette during the a certain no-op.
You can't. So you can't access the error balance palette. There's two things you can do. There's one, you can put in here like not enough balance, right?
Okay.
Or if you call some function, like if you call t native balances transfer, and this can return an error, you just put a question mark and it'll bubble up the error. So like this will convert the balances error into the runtime error.
Yeah, but this error is of the error of the balances palette.
Yes.
And I'm writing test in this multisig palette.
Ah, okay. So
yeah.
that's a good question. Okay, so let's do that. So I mean, I think the easiest thing is this. So basically, you can define a type. Type balances error equals palette balances error. That's it. And this is a type alias. And then you'll have access to balances error, I guess with T, right? Test. Like, what's an example for an error?
Yeah, insufficient balance, suppose. Yeah.
Insufficient balance. Like
Okay,
that.
got it. Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Because
I
again,
tried.
you know, there's an error enum in palette balances, and you're just using it.
Really get that.
Yeah,
Thank
you don't
you.
even need this alias. You could just do palette balances.
Yeah,
But this
exactly.
is yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Yeah, in the multisig palette, you just write, there is a parameter runtime call.
Yes, this one.
Yeah, my question is, how can we construct this runtime call?
Ah, inside of a test.
Yeah, how can we like convert it? Probably we just in the UI we just input some bytes. How can we convert this bytes into a runtime call?
Right. So in the UI, if you use Polkadot.js, it automatically knows how to construct this for you. So actually in the UI, it will give you a drop down and it will let you pick a call in your runtime. So that you don't have to worry about. But I think the question is inside of a test, that's a great question. Because in a test, that's good. So I'll do that, okay? So how can I do this in a test? So the trick here is that in my tests, I only have access to the calls that are in my runtime. So my runtime call only has access to these palettes, right? And generally the best thing to do is just use the system palette. You know, use system palette, has the remark call, you can just call that. So let's just show you how you would do that. So all this compiles, right? So I'm going to make a test for called multisig, okay? Test. FN. Call with multisig works. And then I'm going to do assert OK. Assert OK, multisig. Call with multisig. The inputs is origin, account, and a call. Okay, so I'll say here, let multisig account equals 0, right? You probably have to do better than this on your own. The origin, we can do that. So let Alice equals, okay, Alice can be 0. Multisig can be 1337. And a call. So now the question is, what is this call? Right? So we can, one thing I like to do when I'm constructing these types I'm not familiar with, I like to take this and I'd like to tell Rust the type I want to work with. I don't like not telling Rust. I like to tell Rust here that I want to construct a runtime call. Okay? And I want to construct a runtime call, and using the knowledge you have about the call enums, I believe what will work is frame system call remark what is the thing for remark? Let's look at that real quick. So FN remark. Ah, shit. It expects a remark. Remark, which will be some bytes, right? So I can say let bytes equals be hello world. Dot into. I think that will work. I think then we need a T here. And then I'm going to call with Alice. So first one is Alice signed, then the multi-sig account, and then the call. And I think I need to box the call, right? It's my guess. Let's just see what happens here. Assert OK, and that's the end. Okay. Let's see what happens. Oop, unclose delimiter. So it needs this. See what happens. Okay. So this one, okay, that's good. We got this. It should be like this, I guess. Okay, that passes that thing. Bytes. Try to use conversion. Found to vec. To vec. Bam. So let's talk about what I did here, my thinking, okay? First thing, you're trying to construct a type, which is kind of weird to you, you don't know. This is such a good lifesaver. Because if you don't tell Rust what the type is, it'll try to infer it, right? And it will, if you miss like this dot into whatever, it's just disaster, right? So definitely, I'm trying to construct a type. I'm gonna write exactly the type that I know I want, okay? From there, in today's lectures, we learned that there's an enum being generated for each palette, which is a list of the calls and the name of the function with the parameters in it. Now, I will note, this is maybe a little bit weird, right? Because this doesn't look like the function, right? It doesn't have the origin. But the way that the enum is generated is that it includes all of the function names without origin and just the parameters, like a named field. And if you look actually back at my example, maybe I didn't do a good enough emphasis on that context here. But if we go here, current. Let's go, what was it? The outer enum. Here you can see that it generates a call where it's like, even I have here, like, it's lowercase. It's kind of weird, right? It's not a normal enum, but it's the name of the function and then the fields of the function minus the origin, right? And by the way, you do exactly this in the Rust State Machine project. You will get to this exact step in the Rust State Machine project. I'm shilling it, but it's like this. All of these problems you can do firsthand. Okay, so in this context, I'm familiar with I am able to go to frame system, go to the enum call, pass the generic that I need, and then access the name of the function with the parameter types, and then I call dot into, which converts the palette call into the runtime call. This dot into converts it, right? It changes that thing. Otherwise, like we could do this in 2 steps, for example. We could do let palette call equals, and this will be of type frame system call. That makes sense, right? And then I could do palette call dot into. It's basically 2 steps of the same thing, right? Let's make sure this compiles. Call T. Okay. And then obviously this is not enough to check because it returning okay, but if you want to actually check the thing was called, then how do I actually check the thing was called? I could do this. I could, instead of doing remark, I could do remark with event. Right? So let's do the whole process here. I think that's what it's called, remark. There's remark, and then there's remark with event. And this is exactly the same, but it also emits an event. So I can actually detect that's being called, right? So remark with event. What do you have to do whenever you do events? Frame system palette t test set block number 1. Then I do remark with event. Let's make sure this compiles. And then I can assert last event. Let me look at my own docs here. So let's go back to this. Errors. Inside of this thing. Events, right? Events. Here's the example. So here, assert frame system, assert last event. Okay. Frame system palette, assert last event, and then let's look what the event is in frame system. It's going to be event remarked sender who and hash. Okay. So I'm going to do let expected event, which is going to be of type frame system event test equals event frame system event test remarked sender is the multisig account, right? Multisig account. And the hash, oh, it hashes the remark? I want to do, okay, let's figure I can do it real quick. So let me see. Test as config hashing hash of hashing. Why is this one hash and the other one is hash of? Okay. Hash of ampersand bytes. Here, multisig hash. So let hash equals. And then so last event is expected event. Expected event. Let's see if we get close. Unclosed delimiter. Add a semicolon. Missing a T. Wait, there's no T, it's test. Not found in this scope. Import the trait. Expected event. Oh, so here, this is the perfect. So it expects a runtime event, and I'm giving it a frame system event. So I think I can just do a dot into. Bytes borrowed after the move. What does that mean? I need to clone it. Failed. Panicked. Left, right. Expected event, remarked sender, hash is not equal to last event. Runtime event system remarked sender. The hash is different? Oh, the hash is different. Let's try doing exactly this. Hash remark colon. That's weird, right? The hash is different. But otherwise, I mean, otherwise you see like basically is there, right? So let's just give me one more second. It would be cool if this would work. Hash is frame system for hashing. Hash bytes dot dot. That's what the code was, basically, right? Okay, that works. Okay. Dude, I do not know what hash of versus hash. Don't ask me. But you can see in this context now, so this is important. This is not enough to know that your function that did its thing. Yes, the call succeeded, but did it succeed doing exactly what you want? I have to assert things in storage or assert events or whatever to actually say this call actually called the call I wanted, right? And you see it now, it called it on behalf of this multisig. Okay. Okay, what's next? Nothing? Should we take a 5-minute break and then come back and, yeah? Right. I mean, it's 5:30 right now, right? So how long do we have the room for? Till 6? So yeah, so I mean, you guys can take a 5-minute break and then 25 more minutes left of coding, okay? All right, go. All right. Yeah, just give me 1 second. Let me finish this, and let me upload this file. The last 15 minutes, I'm going to do one more question that came up, which is very relevant for a lot of the people. I'm going to show you how to create an account ID for your palette in the case that you need to put like a balance that your palette controls, right? And there's a lot of ways you can do this, but the standard way to do this can be seen in the treasury palette inside of Polkadot. So substrate, frame, treasury, and it's really just two pieces. It's this idea of having a palette ID. So if we go to palette config, there is this thing called the palette ID, right? So you take this, and that's a constant configured, and then using the palette ID, you can just call into account truncating, and it will generate a account ID. Okay, so those are the two pieces. That's basically it. So let's just do that inside of the treasury palette, the multi-sig treasury palette, sure. So we do, and this is also useful for maybe the DEX, maybe for whatever other project you can think of, right? So palette ID, let's just copy this. I didn't even copy the comment. Inside of here, inside of treasury. Where is it? Here. And then I can do palette T, palette ID, so then I can get this function. And I need to put it into the impl T config palette. Let's make sure this compiles. Cargo. So it's going to take a little bit longer to compile because when I send the zip file to you, I have to do cargo clean because my target folder, it's like 11 gigabytes, whatever, right? So it's fast. Any questions on this? I mean, what we'll see later is with the configure palette ID, and it's just a string of like 8 bytes. And then the background, we're just basically like hashing it and then turning it to an account ID, and then it's unique. You know, like it's not really. I mean, there's other ways you could do this too, right? You could, for example, you could. I think I saw someone else do this, which is just fine, right? This is like you could do type treasury account is get account ID, something like that, right? Like this basically instead of giving it palette ID and we generate an account, you could like give a direct account ID and put it there, right? And then again, this is configurable, right? Any of these constants are configurable. Let's figure this out. Okay. So there's probably some traits I need to import and stuff. Just clear. Okay. Cannot find palette ID in scope yet, so I need to bring in frame support palette ID. Then it says that I need to get the trait get in here as well. Then I need to do trait get again. Yeah, because I imported it inside of here, and I need to import it on the outside so that both of those blocks get this thing. Oh, because okay, that's no, I don't need to do that. What I need to do, I need to bring this block in. Okay, now, okay, this is good. Let me format. So now, it compiled my runtime, my palette, but now my, oh, not found a palette ID. I'm missing this trait. Okay, now the mock is missing this, right? So I need to do type palette ID. And we'll see how they do it inside of here. So inside of the tests, there's some palette ID, and it uses this. So we need to use this parameter types macro. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to delete all the stuff I don't need. Parameter types macro, and I'm going to get rid of these things. And then I should change this to something like maybe like PBA. Trezi. I think it has to be exactly 8 characters. So that's fine. So PBA treasury. You don't want to use the same ID as the treasury palette because then you're gonna conflict with the treasury palette account, right? So you want your own thing. And then we just put treasury palette ID here. I think that's it. Okay, it's 2 things in the palette, 2 things in the. Good. Okay. Let me get it compiling and then. I'm sorry, but did Keon didn't go over parameter types? Does anyone remember this macro? It should have been from the tips and tricks. Then that's a miss on us. Okay. So let's talk about the steps. Okay. So minus the importing, there's 2 things I did inside of the palette, right? I added a new constant, which gets me a palette ID. Okay. And then I use the fact this palette ID has this function into account truncating. Now, how do you know this? You don't know this. What you can do is you can know that treasury palette is a palette that you want to simulate. You look at what they're doing, and they have this, right? That is literally how you can learn about this process. Now the question is, how do we feed this palette ID into this constant, right? For that, I need to configure a type palette ID, which has this palette ID. And there's this macro, the parameter types macro. Do we use it anywhere else? Maybe we don't use it anywhere else. But basically, it turns this into the get that you want here. This macro is basically implementing get palette ID for treasury palette ID. Like it's doing this struct palette ID or treasury. Okay, let's do this. TID2. Struct TID2. Get palette ID for TID2. Right? FN get returns palette ID, and it will return this. Does this compile? I need the trait get, okay? But again, what I'm doing here is this. I have here some associate type which needs to implement this get palette ID, right? So the hardcore way I could do it is I can make a struct, I can implement the trait on it, and then I can use it. TID2. Can't leak private type. Pub struct. And it works. So there's no confusion about what this is, right? This is exactly just implementing get, which is what the function we need. And you all have familiar with get because you use it inside of your thing. What the parameter types macro, this parameter types macro is doing doing it for me. It's doing this step. So, both work. I'll leave both in here, for you to look at, but they're mostly the same thing, right? I mean, I literally just listened to the compiler, so I can't even remember all of them. But the compiler said import this. I imported this. But at a high level, I imported this trait get. I imported the type palette ID, and I guess I need to import the parameter types macro if I'm going to use it or I'm not going to use it. But really, I'm just like, it's not like the reason these errors come up is not because I don't remember. The compiler says please add this. I add this. Okay.
In my case, when I add one thing, everything breaks, and then I don't know what to look at. You know what I mean?
So you need to. So what I recommend is
when I added the type, whatever, everything broke.
Okay, so
maybe because
I can only recommend to you the processes that I would follow, right? So what I would do is I always clear my console, right? So let's say there's a typo here, right? I clear my console. I do build, whatever, and now a bunch of errors. Everything's broke, right? I scroll to the top, cannot find Polkadot ID and scope, right? Now in the context, right? Oh, this one has a similar name exists. In the context, I didn't import this thing before. Let's remove it, right? So let's actually just get the error again. Palette ID. Cannot find palette ID and scope. Again, I cleared the very first error message I look at, and it tells me consider importing the struct. So I literally just copied this line.
Okay.
And dropped it. So I mean, if you do other kinds of errors, there could be some that are like macro based that are very nasty. But practically speaking, in the import steps, I'm not actually doing much thinking here. I'm just letting the compiler tell me what to do. Yeah. I mean, I do wish also that Rust was friendlier here, but this is just how it is. I think, like, for example, Go would actually import these things for me automatically. You can, take the cube.
Can you demonstrate how to log in the code so that we can see clearly in the tests?
Okay, so you want a call. You want in the palette call something that locks, and then a test that checks that the lock is there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that pretty fast, I think. Which project are you working on?
I'm doing the voting.
Okay. So let me just commit this. You're doing the voting. Okay. So in the voting. Okay, voting. Okay, so let's make a palette call. So I already have this thing register account, right? So let's actually let's just add to this register account. I'm gonna take a balance from the user, right? So let's do T native balance set freeze. Is this the one where I did the freeze thing? No, so I have to set a couple of things more up, right? I have to do the hold reason and stuff. Okay. So set freeze. I need to figure out something here. And I need to do who and amount. Okay, so we have to run through this process one more time quickly. So let me find inside of Polkadot SDK where someone does set freeze. Right? Not inside of the traits, but inside of the palette. So here. So I'm using now here nomination pools as a basis for me learning how to set this up. Again, I literally do not remember exactly how to do this. But I'm going to I just search set freeze, the API I want to call. I found a spot inside of a palette, inside of one of the palettes that is doing this. So there's now this freeze reason. Now I ask, what is that? So I search inside of the same file for freeze reason. And I'm going to get this thing here. There's the runtime freeze reason, right? That's what we talked about with the runtime level extrapolation thing. Runtime freeze reason. And then I also see here I need to set on mutate freeze. The ID should be runtime freeze reason. So again, I'm literally learning where is this thing coming up. So now on fungible freeze mutate, ID is runtime freeze reason. Okay. So I have now this set up here. I would let me see set freeze. I'm gonna comment this line now. It should be that should compile hopefully. So again, early on to the process, and I'm gonna not do test, but I'm gonna do build. Early on to the process, I just added 2 quick lines. It should be that these lines make sense by themselves, right? I don't need to use them, but it should be that they're sensible and that they compile. If not, we can fix it. If not, we have to import something. We can do that quick and like we do that fast and upfront. So here, freeze reason is not found in scope. What is that? Okay, so now it's saying I don't have a freeze reason here. So I'm going back to here. And I actually need this enum, right? That's that thing we talked about, this composite enum, this outer enum thing. This is very cool. So we're going to bring that in. So we're going to define an enum freeze reason. And what's the name of your reason for freezing? Like, oh yeah, account made, right? Account made. Something like that, right? Like account deposit. Let's do that. Okay, and now if we build this. Okay, so we're at a point, it builds. I just copy and paste some things from the other palette, it builds. Now what won't build is the tests. Because there's this now, I introduced 2 new types here, which I need to also put into the test as well, right? Let's go into the mock. I'll let it say, okay, yeah, it doesn't work, okay? It's missing the freeze reason. So in here, type runtime freeze reason equals runtime freeze reason. Remember, this thing is generating this thing in the runtime for me, so I'm able to use it. Okay, and then it's saying that my freeze identifier here does not match the requirement I said. Right now, freeze identifier is set as parentheses or set as units. I need this to be runtime freeze reason. That's what this is telling me. That expected runtime freeze reason found unit. So I have to update the config. Next time, I should put these in the template for you guys. So if someone can remind me to do that, maybe one of you 2 can remind me to put this freeze reason stuff in the templates, okay? Okay, so now the test passed, but I have never actually used this thing end to end, right? But I have the test building using some code. Last step here, let's go back to set freeze. Not last step, this is like the beginning of getting this working. Okay, I have set freeze, freeze reason, account deposit. Is that what I put, right? Account deposit? Yeah, account deposit. Who amount? How much? Let's do 100 U32 dot into. Okay, this is obviously not the right way to do it, but let's, 100 units, okay? So this is saying to me, okay, I need to import the trait. So it wants me to import this mutate freeze to use the function. Okay, that's pretty normal. So where are all the import statements? Okay, I'm going to import use frame support traits fungible. By the way, notice I kind of skipped all this junk. This stuff is like coming from the macros. The macros is expanding heavily. You should have, I don't know, I guess you can search in other palettes where they're importing the stuff from, right? That would be a good set. Okay, what happened here? Oh, I think it wants me to put an ampersand. Again, Russ is telling me it expects an ampersand. What else? Matching, freeze reason, expected ampersand. The function is incorrect. Yeah, into. Thank you. Gold star. Okay, so it wants me to propagate up the error. This can bubble up, so it puts a question mark. So it gave me a warning, hey, there's some result, you're not handling it. Okay, now I've called this function in here. It works, right? Okay, so let's go in quickly into a test. So I have this. correct error. So this create account. That's what that function is, right? Or register account. I guess. I mean, until you kick me off, I'm gonna just finish this question, right? Okay. So register account. It needs an origin. It needs who. Okay. So register account works. Assert. Okay. Register account signed by one and who. So let's say Alice. So let Alice equals 0. Let Bob equals 1. So sign from Alice to put Bob. Something like that, right? Let me look at this function. Oh, it's ensure root. Okay, sorry, ensure root. Ensure root. So this should be runtime origin root. And then I can register Alice. Now this should fail because I think Alice will have no money, right? So when I try to do that freeze, oh no, it won't fail because freeze should apply to any. Let's see what happens. Pallet voting. Cargo test pallet voting. We'll see if it fails or not. Again, Alice right now doesn't have any funds, so I'm kind of okay. So it wasn't able to do it. It panicked. No provider. So this is basically this is a signal. It's not very obvious, but it's a signal that I'm trying to add something to an account, but the account doesn't exist. So what we have to do first is give Alice some money. So I can do test as native balance mint into, right? I did this already somewhere, right? Mint into Alice 100,000. I don't know. Oh, as create config native balance. Not a trait. Yeah, sorry. Test as create config. That has an associated type native balance, and that has a function mint into. I probably need to use this trait. Okay, so I use frame support traits fungible mutate. Alice needs to be borrowed. Okay, this should be assert. Okay. So this will pass, and you now see the whole test pass now, right? So after I gave Alice some money, I was able to pass that freeze check. Now, the last thing you asked me was, how can we check how much is frozen, right? So here I'm going to do assert equal. And by the way, I can simplify this, so I don't have to write this the whole time. I can just do type native balance equals, right? And then I can just call native balance. So it just saves me some writing. Oh, this is gonna 0, 0.
Can we just print out like this way, assert equal? I understand. Is it possible to print on the console?
Yeah, sure. So you want to print the number. You want to print the number that was frozen.
Yeah, I want to like write some log code in the like
in the test.
librs file.
Ah, okay.
And then I print it out in my tests.
Okay. So I would do print line hi Shawn, right? And then you could do no capture, right?
Okay, so.
But remember, this only works because I'm doing tests. Like print line requires STD, so your runtime won't compile with this, right? What you could actually do is you could do something like this. You could do if the SP std if std, and this hides the function when you're compiling for runtime. But I don't have SPST brought in. That's fine. But anyway, so like again, as long as you're just running tests, you can do this print line here, and you could even print line like you could print line here. So hi Shawn, and then I can also do the account is, and then use debug print, and then put who, right? But there's two ways to see the thing. So hi Shawn, the account is 0. So that's perfect, right? And then I put specifically this works because I put the no capture, right? Rust will capture the text otherwise. The other way you could do it without no capture is if you make your test fail. So if I go to my test and I actually do this assert equals 0 and 1, and I run the test will fail and it will automatically print stuff. Hi Shawn, the account is 0.
Okay, so what if in the no standard environment, I noticed there is some SP tracing try init simple in the Polkadot SDK.
Yeah, but that's
What's
so that's a more advanced logging. So that's when you have like a program running and you want to do like actual like live logging while things are running, you would use a proper logging crate. I'm showing you here like how you could do simple debugging. There are more advanced like logging mechanisms, but I think this is good for your scenarios. But there are better logging systems that are like meant for production applications, right? Print line is not that, but this is okay for this.